Hey guys, this is Heretic, and in this video I'm going to go over the new event that's available to select realms, and it'll eventually go out to all realms, and it's called Lord Conquest. There are two main phases to this event. One of them is the Lord Trials, which is versus NPCs, and the second is a PvP phase. And it occurs every day. You have both phases every day throughout this event. And so you buff, and because everybody will have the same number of troops to start with every day at 400,000, you won't need to apply your March expansion type buffs. In addition, as far as I know right now, and there's no information really out there other than what's in the game, what's told in the game. In the game, it says that your artifact skills do not apply, but I've seen that they do, other than the Athena's shield, which I will be trying out later in the event. But just keep that in mind. So here I'm setting my march. You can see 400,000 troops. And I'm setting this, and then I'm setting out in the Lord Trial portion versus NPCs. And in this, I get to choose between 3 different opponents. It's pretty obvious what you're choosing here is what you're up against. So here you go. You see all troop types out there for the enemy, but I guess what you're actually picking from is how those troops tech-wise are focused. And so these are the buffs you get to choose from. You can refresh them 2 times, and then the 3rd time you have to use these special coins that you only get through a daily quest. You can't buy them. This is not a spend-heavy type event at all. This is, other than gems that you'll use right here when you're refreshing, everything else you get via daily quests, or you get just from this regular daily Lord Trials that you have to do. So I would say top choice for the buffs that you pick between each one of these rounds, Surmount, which is a army march size increase, would be the top one, because then that will apply in the PvP. So on most of these days, I actually got it twice, so an increase of 10%. So I ended up with 440,000 troops. And a lot of my opponents, well, none of my opponents so far have picked those. And so it's 440 of my troops versus 400 of theirs, which gives me a pretty good advantage. So I highly recommend that. Otherwise, I would pick, just like you would in Anubis, you would want to go damage first. So your damage decrease from the enemy, like the decrease taken or the increase given by your primary backlines. So here we go. I'm going through, and you can see the choices I make. This is the first day. And in this event, there's no real info out there, so I'm kind of winging it as I go. So here I'm going to go infantry HP. And I didn't even know at this point. This is the very first day. So the very first day, you go through the Lord Trial, you set your troops, you set everything up, and then you face 3 different opponents in the PvP phase. And it's all automatic, and it happens right at reset. And at the end of the first day, you face the 3 opponents, and then if you don't lose any of those battles, you move into the Crown group, and it has a set of rewards that are better, obviously. Or you go, if you lose one time, you go into the Gold group, and the Gold group has rewards, and it has the same sort of thing where you're fighting to get through to be the top of that group. And so you can see I just picked the Surmount. And so this got me up, and you can see it reflected. Troop status, 420,000. And so this helps a lot. Just like Anubis, the more troops you have, the better you're going to do. And you can't just buy your way to getting more. Other than the gems that you can use to refresh, there's no pack or anything associated with this that gives you an unfair advantage. So it's really, really good in that way. And so it's an interesting event. It doesn't take a whole lot for you each day. You go through the trial each day, you set your troops, and then basically you're done. So now I've finished it, and now it's going to show. I can show my my troops, and I could heal it. I used the healing potion that I got from the daily quest, and with that, it bumped up my troops all the way up to the 100%. And I'm saving that, of course, I'm saving the other potion. You won't need the potion during the PvP phase. These are the daily quests. So some of them is literally just do the Lord trial. Other ones are like log in, use beast XP, what you would expect. Use stamina, that sort of thing. And then you can get rewards. You can evolve the rewards that you get so that you can get better rewards each day, as you can see right there. And you get a few more coins and things that you can use. But by and by, it's not a huge advantage for you in this event. So you can kind of see what you get there. All right. So let's go to the second day so I can show you what happens after reset. All right. So here you go. So now it's going to show I won my first 3, so I ended up in the crown phase, and you can see who I was facing there, and I'll show it in a little bit more detail. I'm going to go through the trial again. It says the artifact active skills won't apply, but again, the only one that I haven't seen apply is the Athena's. And obviously there's some where you have to select the castle and that sort of thing to use the evolve skill, but yeah, those obviously won't work. But I'm using my best buffs. I didn't really need to the first couple days. It ends up being a tournament where after you get through the first day and it picks if you're in the crown group or the gold group, after that you're just facing one person every day, and you know who you're going to face, and you can see their tech as of the day before. It can always change. So here I am. I'm going through this trial again. All right, here we go. You can speed through it, and you can just go through and kind of pick your buffs here. One thing I would say is you only get 2 gem-based for each round. You only get 2 refreshes that are gem-based, and then you have to use those coins. And the coins are a lot harder to come by, so you don't want to waste them. So you have to be careful because it's taking a risk. Here I got Surmount. Obviously, you just jump on that when you get it. But let's say you refresh, and then you refresh again, and now you can only refresh if you're using the coins. And if the buffs there are terrible and don't apply to you, like if you're mage and all you see are archer-based buffs, then you're kind of stuck with that. And so it's a gamble for sure. The refresh is always a gamble. See there, I had anti-mages and then anti-mages again. I'm just going to take the anti-mage. But I wasted 100 gems. So here we go again. This is all about just getting the buff. Yeah. Here we go again. What do I get? Infantry defense is what I'm going to have to take. I could go attack angels. Yeah, I'll just do that. All right. Here we go again. Speed through it. You can also check that skip battle animation, and that's really nice. So I'm just showing, what the possibilities are here. It would be nice to get a bunch of those legendary buffs as you go through, especially if you're going to face someone that's very difficult. But yeah, you get what you get, I guess. So I'm using my coins this time, and I'm going to have to go with the infantry damage reduction, which is pretty good. I've not gotten more than Surmount 2 times, but I'm guessing that it would be possible to get more than that, which would be really amazing, and you'd be super lucky for getting that, because that would bump you up to 460k. If you can get more than that, obviously you take as much as you can get of those. All right. But these buffs kind of help you against your tougher opponents. If you get lucky here, you can pass up the tech of the opponent that you're facing. Mountain Force reduces the critical strike rate. And the gifts, the trial gifts, the buffs that you get only apply for the next day. The first day you do it, it will apply for reset that same day. But after that, the trial is only good for that day. And it won't show. So when you're looking at your opponent, there's this amount. When you're looking at your opponent, you'll see 400k troops. But you don't know what gifts they got, like what buffs they got during that day. And so they could have drastically different setups. But it's very helpful because you can actually see their tech and you can see what their focus is. If they have a mage backline, then of course you can anticipate that and you can change your totems, you can not your totem, you can change your artifact, you can change your beast skills to give you the buff that you would need, like anti-mage, mage reduction. You can kind of prepare for it. Same thing, if they're cav or whatever, it helps you. I got stuck here. There was no good choice. I'm just going to go with the cav reduction, but there was no good choice. And so I go through here and I can set, I can just adjust the troops. I could use the heal here, which I do. It gets me to my 440k, which my opponent won't be able to see until I actually face them. But here you go. I'm looking at how they're giving me the troops. So, but it's just like Anubis. You get 5% more troops. It's not like you get to choose which 5% to use. They're just kind of adding it. But I can look at my tech with those buffs applied to it, which is interesting. Again, and you can do the same thing for your opponents. You can see who you're facing, and you can see the other people in your group. So if you're in the crown group, you could go through each person, each of those battles. You can see who's facing who. You can cheer to get a few, you can win some gems, that sort of thing. But here you can kind of see that, the schedule. So you start with 64 and it gets down to 1, obviously. And so I can see mine, like what buffs they can see today, but that's not the buffs that are actually going to be in that fight. And I can look at my opponent as well. And I can go, and this is the daily quest that you can do every day. Some of them it's simple, but it's like what you would expect. Speed ups, using stamina, going through the actual trials, and then those apply over to this routine reward that you get daily. So I just got another heal as I went through. You can evolve that reward and get more things. You can get some of those conquest coins that way that help you do the refresh. But other than that, there's no real spending involved here, and that's relatively small. But here's my opponent the first day. So if you see your opponent, you can know what it's going to take to beat them and what kind of buffs you need. Like, do you use your superior buffs to increase your attack by 25%? What do you need to do to get through the first few phases until you face a very strong opponent? You might face someone strong the first day, and you may need everything that you can get to beat them. And that's absolutely valid. One thing to keep in mind for the PvP phase is that both you and your opponent are attackers. Neither one of you are defenders, so the defending stats tech that you have do not apply. So if you have anything that is focused on defense, you might want to remove that and exchange it for something else. So here you can see how that works. And so here I've gone through and I've applied my buffs. So this is all using the stats of the previous day, as it says here. It shows me all of the gifts that I got in the previous trial. Tomorrow it'll use the ones that I did today in the Lord's trial. And this gives you and your opponent the ability to look at what each person has. So you can see exactly what troops they're going to use. You can see exactly what their tech is like. And this will allow you to adjust what you do. So for your battles at reset, this is what you see. This is my first opponent. And I can look through and see the actual battle. I can actually look at the replay of the battle. And, I can see what actually worked, like what was applied and what wasn't. Like you can see my skill effects there. There's my totem and an artifact skill, my Brionic. And if I look further down in the list, I can see the trial gifts. So those are the buffs that were applied by the trial and what I picked versus what they picked. You can see all the tech that was applied here. I can tell you the tech that you see there isn't necessarily including the buffs that you get. There you can see other artifact skills that applied. So yeah, I can see that the Order Guard shield worked for my opponent. Decoration skills, they all apply. One thing I have not tested, but I've been told several times that the shield does not apply. But here you can see the actual replay and what happened. And this, of course, will get more interesting as you go through the event. And I'm looking specifically here to see which skills were used, and I can see those right there being used. So yeah, I think we can definitively say that most of your artifact skills, at least, are applying, even though in the interface it says they're not applying. Okay, let's go down to the event again. You can see all of the battles again. You can see your next opponent and what they have. So here's a gambling that Smoke's gonna win. Of course he is. But this is the crown group, and there's a crown group and there's a gold group. The crown group is the people that didn't lose the first day. So here I am again. I'm setting my march and I'm going to the trials. It's showing me my buffs that I have applied right now. I don't know why I'm doing this. This is goofy because there's no reason to waste. Yeah, let's not waste my superior buffs. So I'm just setting my formation just like the previous day. Set your formation and then click set out. All right, so let's go through the trial again. So you can see this time I'm going to check that skip battle animation to just get through it quicker, but I'll show you this one. Skip it and pick my buff. Refresh, none of those are good. Those aren't great either. More time. Go mage attack this time. Alright, now I'm doing that skip battle animation, so it'll just end it as soon as I click it, which will speed things up quite a bit. So there you go. You go straight to picking your buff again, because that's really what you're doing in these trials. You're just picking the buffs that you can get. And these buffs apply, again, apply to the actual tournament that you're doing within the actual event. So the PvP side, right? Refresh, spending the coins that I do have. No good choice here at all. Terrible choices. But you have to pick something. No good choice there. I guess army defense. Alright. Again, it's all about luck here. A bit like Infinity Wars or Anubis. Same sort of thing. That's decent. But this is a lot quicker if you do it this way. Surmount. Easy. I haven't seen anything above the blue level for Surmount. I'm not sure if there actually is anything above the blue level, the 5%. Of course, I've only been playing this for a couple days, so I don't know. And again, this is there's Surmount again, so that gets me up to my 440 again, which is where I want to be. As a minimum, if I can. I may not get that lucky every day. I may not get any of those in my choices. This one is pretty good. Advanced army and damage reduction, the legendary side. So that was the last one that I got. And so now I can adjust again. I can heal, which I will. I can see the buffs that I have applied. And whatever I do here, and I click that refresh stats, that will apply for the PvP phase. So just keep it in mind. Healed up 440,000, and that's what is going to be applied in the actual battle at the next reset. And here again, I can look at who I'm facing, who everybody's facing. I can look at everybody in my group and what their relative score is, their battle power, their march power. As you know, that's not always the definitive thing to look at, because someone could have a lower battle power because maybe they have less troops, but their tech is so far above you that it doesn't really matter, that they can still beat you. But here's my opponent for tonight. I should win. I have T12. I'm going to be facing T11s. I should win. My tech's a little bit higher. But here you go. This is, again, these are your daily quests that you get. And these, they give you coins as well, as you can see right there. But this is basically this event. and you go through, and there's decent rewards. And I'm going to go ahead and show the rewards now. So here we are again. This is the top 32. You can look at yesterday's battle progress, see who won. You can look at the actual battle reports, which will help you a ton. You can see that I'm in the crown group, and you can see here my next opponent, today's opponent, Cap. I can adjust formation here, which I'm not. You can see what buffs I'm going to have that will apply, how many troops I have, that sort of thing. I can look here in the rankings, and this is going by, and this is weird, and I don't really understand what these points, like how these points are figured, but here I am. I could see smoke on top for sure. All right, so now let's look at, you can look at the gold group as well. 288 lords there, while this one we're down to 32. You can look at alliance ranking. Here we are in 4th. And I can look at rewards here. And I can see if I get rank 1, I will get this golden time for 14 days with 1,000 merit, rep, polycrystalline, and a decent amount of recruitment speed-ups. Considering you don't have to spend, these are excellent rewards, honestly. Let's say I could see myself either ending up in the top 16, maybe top 8. The top 8 would give me that for 5 days, while the top 16 would get me this for 3 days. So it's not a big difference. The amount of merit is pretty close as well. So on the gold group side, the rewards are lower, but you get some merit. You can get the golden time for a day if you win 6 times. Okay, so that's the rewards for the event. I will give an update as we go through. So although I did mention you don't need to spend, I'm just now seeing this. Again, this is all kind of learning on the fly. There is a Conquest shop that can get you some heals and coins. I have not spent on this. If you go to Conquest Handbook, this is where you see your daily quest, which will give you some of the coins. The routine reward is the reward that you'll get just for doing those quests. And you can evolve it, which I have, which will give you some of these conquest marks and some other non-important for this event type rewards. And I believe it was $9.99. I believe it was either $4.99 or $9.99. Someone will tell me in the comments. But this is the Lord Conquest event. I'm down into the top 16. So when I win this, I think I win this one, it'll get me into the top 8. If I get beyond the top 8, I'll be surprised, honestly. There's some tough opponents, but here you can kind of see this is, today is actually the top 32. Then tomorrow would be the top 16, the top 8, and then you get the finals at the end. And that's not going to be the person, just because I clicked that, it went through to the person below. But yeah, really interesting. Again, you can click that to actually view the attack, so you can see here the video replay of Smoke. And although it shows him kind of on defense, you're both considered as attack. Keep that in mind. So if you can adjust some things to give you more attack-based skills, that's where you'll want to focus. All right, and with that, I think I've covered as much as I possibly can right now. Take care.